What is going on, guys? It's been a bit, I feel like, since we made a video like this, but it's time to do it because I kind of got to this point where I was like, I'm done making videos to make them. I don't give a shit. I really don't. Like, I don't care about the ad revenue, the subscriber growth, and all these things. Like, yeah, it would be nice, it would be cool and build a bigger community. That'll come. But at the end of the day, I want to make videos that actually have value and meaning. And I don't mean to be like, oh, provide value. I don't give a fuck about that either. I don't mean it in like a stupid way that everyone's like, oh, you got to provide value. It's actually something that I think will be helpful. And so this month, we are now on the 18th when I'm filming this video. It's going to go out in a couple of days because I'm going to be away this weekend into next week. We got another trip down to Florida and then back. We're bringing home a puppy. That's going to be, who knows? I have no idea what to expect with all that stuff. But so far, the month of May 2023 has been my best month performance metric wise in my day trading ever. That's what it is. We are at a point where this is the best month from my tracking purposes. And to be honest, you can go back, and I had good months back when I got into things, and not really when I got into things, but because I really got into things in 2016 on and off until 2019, and then 2019 through 2021 first 2 months was insane. Like anybody else probably who got into the game, or like most people, because again, there are people who are probably losing money there too. But I mean, right now it's just we're dialed in. So here's the data from this month or right now that we're dealing with, and we are right now executing here. This is on TradeZella, the platform I use to track. So all I do is at the end of the day, or whenever I'm done trading, I'll just go into Webull and click on export history or trading logs. It'll give me a file. I'll upload that. It gives you actually 3 files. I upload the files to TradeZella. They're all tracked. I only really trade options on that account right now. And so that's really just one file to deal with, and that's it. So that is what we're tracking, our option day trades. And we just have, as what's his name, Mark Douglas would always like to say, you want to be on that steadily rising equity curve. And that's legitimately what we have. That's what that is. That's a steadily rising equity curve right there on the net, P&L for this month. And we've had 2 red days this month. And those red days you can see here on our scale were small in comparison on the bar chart to all the green days. There were some small green days in there, but there was many more green days that were larger. And then if you go up to that average win-loss per trade, essentially in the top right, what that's telling us is that we're on average winning more than we're losing by having that green bar be larger than the red and having that be over a 1.0. If it was 1.0, it means I'm essentially, my risk reward profile is 1-to-1. We all like to talk about, oh yeah, have a 2-to-1. You want to have a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 or a 5-to-1. All these people talk about these things. But in terms of the actual executions, that's one thing to say and have targets. But the actual executions, I think we are all going to find that many of us will find that it's never what we want. And so you can have those goals, but to be honest, for me, if that number is better or higher than 1, like 1.00, if it's better than that, and my win rate is 50+%, I'm golden. So 1.4, I'm happy with. I actually have no problem with that at all. Honestly, I look back, there's probably things I could have maybe cut a little faster, but it's not that bad. It's that this month, the executions have been great. And so what I want to do in a second is I want to get into I think I wrote down 3 or 4, maybe 4.5 points that are actual actionable takeaways. The biggest things I'm realizing that are not oh, do this exactly like me. That's not going to help you, right? It's not going to help you at all. What's going to help you is what's different this time? Because what I do want to point out is even though this is the best month and profit factor of 3.21, win rates at 60, just shy of 60. I'm sorry, it was almost 69. I couldn't get there. It just almost just shy of 69%. What month is similar to this? Well, if I were to take you back to December of 2022, what you're going to find, I want to go to December of 2022. What you're going to find is this. we had a win rate, or honestly a similar looking month, let's be honest here. A win rate of 63%, so a little bit lower, but still up there in the 60s, which is decent. Average win-loss of 0.98 and a profit factor of 1.69. The higher the profit factor, essentially the more money you're making based off the sizing that you're using that month and whatnot. But the numbers, like the actual dollar amounts, like none of that stuff matters to me. Like I really don't give a shit about that stuff because it's just at the executions. I wanted to create, or I wanted to build out and trade a system that I could replicate, and that wasn't something that was random. And so the biggest difference is there are a couple things that are better right now. Our average win-loss, like that top right, it's better, right? This month, now we're looking at December. So let me go back. Let me go over to December to show you guys. Similar month that we kind of look similar to this month because we had, a lot of green in it, finished really red. So this month's not over yet. I don't know how much I'm going to trade the rest of the month because of other things going on in my life, but that's kind of how I've operated the past, few weeks anyway, because I've been doing this, doing that, trips and this, and I'm not going to trade if I'm on the go. I'm not going to trade unless I'm home at the desk, because that's when I just found that I'm mentally more dialed in and mentally able to look at what I want to look at and execute the way that I want to execute. And that's it. But this month right here, the biggest problem was that even though we had a good win rate, we actually were losing more money on average on losing trades. And then our winning trades, we were winning less. And we took a freaking shit ton of trades. I mean, this 63%, there were 64 winning trades and 37 losing trades. Okay, that's back in December. Now, let me go to this month. This month in May of 2023, now, of course, technically there's another week and a half to go. We're at 20 winning trades and 9 losing trades. We're nowhere near. We're not going to even come close to the amount of trades that we had back in December, which was my prior best month, if you want to call it that, from tracking things from this perspective. And so the takeaways here is that what have we learned over the past couple months? Like January and February were horrible. I lost a ton of money. But then the months after that, March, April, were literally flat, maybe slightly green, but I'd say flat. Call them break-even months. So over that span of time, what have I been able to do? What's the progress? Well, the progress has been that we have been much better with our risk management because now we're at a 1+ average win-loss, right? If we had a, 0.8, we got worse. So we're having larger losers than winners. And if we got worse there, I would want to see, for a system to make sense to me, I would want to see the win rate, go 70+ at least, maybe even 75+. So the win rate's actually improved and the average win-loss is improved. So we're just operating really efficiently right now. Is it going to be like that forever? No. But there have been periods of time over the past couple months that it wasn't this easy, I would say, but I also was able to manage the risk in a way where I didn't blow up and have horrible months. So what are the takeaways, right? So why is this time different, and why do I think it's going to continue to be different going forward? Do I think we're going to hold these numbers, win rates and average win-loss? I honestly think we can improve the average win-loss. The win rate, I think, is good where it's at. I don't know how much better that's going to be. I really don't. Maybe I can have some months where I go 70+, maybe, but I really don't have expectations to go much higher on the win rate. And I don't think I need to. It doesn't matter. Like, that's not going to matter. Because if the win rate sits in the 60s and we're going to average win-loss, 1.25 or more, we're great. We're going to be fine. I don't care. We're going to have a steadily rising curve. We're going to be sitting back and, just executing and doing our thing. Like, that's what it is. So the first thing is that I've been trading one setup and one setup only that works on the ups and the downs. And so why is that important? Because it's just simplified everything. It just simplified. I'm not... Back in December, and really the beginning of this year even too, I was trading like 17 different things. Not really. I was like, okay, some days I'd be a support buyer, and some days I'd be, a breakout. I really actually wouldn't really breakout trade. And some days I'd do this, and I'd play the trend line break, and I'd play. There was no way to determine what I was really doing because you could see those patterns on different time scales, on different charts all over the place. And there was no good way for me to dial that in to be much more mechanical and methodical about, okay, I look through these charts, these three fit maybe these three look like they could fit the criteria. Let's look into these closer. Boom. I didn't do that. I would kind of just go through. Oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good. Let's take that. And that was what I did. And seriously, I was looking back. It's dumb, but that's what I did. And now, like, you can have good times there, sure. And then you can also have times where it's shit. And I've been there I've been there both ways. Problem with that is, like, how do I know when we're in optimal conditions for this setup or this system versus not? And then how do I determine when to size, when to not size, when to take this? There was no like logical way that I could do it. It was random. And then so that's why I always think of that. Now, everyone's different. That's why when I see people on social media and whatnot who one day are playing breakouts, one day playing support buys, one day playing resistance rejections, I'm like, dude, I don't know how you do it. You could do it, right? Because I could see why things work. After the fact's always great hindsight. But I'm like, I don't know how you're consistent there, because aren't you going to be like looking in 1,000 directions and your mind's going to be exploding with opportunities? Because there's always going to be an opportunity if you look at 17 types of setups. So I just mentally couldn't comprehend that, and just doesn't work for me. Number 2 is the context is pretty freaking important. What do I mean? Are we uptrending? Are we downtrending? Are we consolidating? Like, what's going on? And on top of that, right, I didn't usually care that much, because we could be, trending higher over the course of weeks. And then, we have a downside day and I'd play a short and then I would lose. I'm like, why did I lose on that short? Well, because, hey, the overall market is still trending up, or this stock is trending up, and I'm playing against that. So in that scenario, being a little more selective, or just sizing down, or just not trading it at all because it didn't fit the overall context to my criteria, right? That's it. And to be honest, the way the market's been moving right now, it's kind of been just grinding, consolidated for a while, been grinding higher. There's no shorts for me here. None. There are none. If we had a nasty red day, and even in that, there'll be still some stocks that could go up and whatever, there would not be a scenario where I'd want to go short. I just wouldn't want to do it because it just wouldn't fit my criteria. We would need to see a couple of downside days over the course of a week and start setting charts or looking at charts that now have some sort of downtrend developing on the 1 hour time frame. For me, that's what I would want to see, So the next piece of that is like strength versus weakness and the relative nature of that. So I like to trade, maybe like a handful of stocks, maybe 2 handfuls of stocks. So you can kind of toss in essentially Apple, Amazon, Tesla, S&P, NASDAQ, so SPY, QQQ, or I'll play the futures versions of those. Meta, AMD, NVIDIA. I don't know what I missed on there, but that's essentially it. Essentially the big large caps that Microsoft, tight spreads on the option contracts, and they move, but they're not like, going to have massive spreads, and they have plenty of liquidity, and they're not going to have a problem trading those contracts. Essentially, whatever strike price you want to trade, you'll probably be able to do it, right? So that's what I trade. And there's always going to be a stock that's relatively strong versus weak, when we're up and down, and I want to play with that because I'm playing with the direction that we're seeing on the short term and the longer term. As in longer, I mean 1 hour time frame. So zooming out a couple of days, couple of weeks, and then 5-minute chart for my entry points. And there's always something that's relatively strong or weak. And if we're going up overall, I'm looking for relative strength. If we're going down, I'm looking for relative weakness. Find the top 3, strong or weak. Those are my top 3 criteria, right? Do they fit the criteria that I'm looking for my trade? And then if they do, great. So that's where we're at. And if you want me to make a detailed video of the strategy, I can do that and talk more about it. But that's something that, I've talked about plenty of times on live streams and whatnot. So it's not like it's a secret. I don't give it, there's no secret to it at all. The last thing is discipline. So I was saying before, the numbers don't really matter in terms of like the dollar amounts. That's why I covered them up, which is a cool feature you can do on here in TradeZella. I'm more so looking at the metrics, and these metrics are great right now, right? And as you size up, what's going to happen is you might start to mentally think about things differently. And we were mentioning this on a live stream recently. You might think things differently, and all of a sudden the metrics are messed, are completely wonky for maybe like next month or the month after that if I start sizing up a little bit more, right? And that's fine. So let me scale it back and we kind of dial in. But I've been really disciplined into not caring about the dollar amounts. It's pretty straightforward. The system operates as I'm risking 5 to 10% on losing trades. So when I enter my trade, I know my downside is worst case scenario 10%, roughly. Could be a little more. It depends on the contract volatility and whatever, and the sizing, but roughly 10%. And then my take profit is 10 plus. So in a perfect world, right, you get to 10 plus, I take profit on, maybe half my position, maybe a third if I'm in 3 contracts, whatever the number is. And then we kind of scale up from there, or we scale out from there if the trend continues and there's just no reason to sell. So executing like that, I just know like, hey, if this is how things go, like I'll be fine. I don't really care. There's no like, I don't need to freak out and change anything if, one thing doesn't work properly, because that's going to happen and you're not going to be perfect all the time, right? But execution first and then the money will follow. That's kind of the biggest thing. And you hear that all the time, I feel like too. But honestly, that's just like, that's the scale can come and that can always come. That's why day trading is insane, because, and the stock market's insane in my opinion, because once you kind of figure something out for yourself, there's endless potential and then there's endless scale potential as well. Obviously, it's much easier said than done. Don't get me wrong. That's why the mental side is huge. But if you just focus on the executions, you're going to be in a much better place. And the game is this. Like the game is like, okay, what's my profit factor? What's my win-loss? What's my win rate? Like that's the game. It's not about how much money did I make, because you can make money, you can lose money. It's about those numbers. And is the system working? How can I critique it? How can I critique myself to improve it? And that's all it is. It's these little tweaks. Once you have a general idea, it's these little tweaks that are kind of inching you, towards a really solid system. So I didn't want this to be too long, but it's already going too long. If this helped in any way, hit the thumbs up button. I appreciate you guys for hanging out here on the channel. This is not going to be like a everyday, video, but I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere. I think that a lot of it has to do, not a lot, but might have to do with other commitments and other things that I've committed to that are pretty important, that are building other areas of discipline in my own life. And I think it's rubbing off, and without really realizing that I'm making many big changes, it's just rubbing off on my performance in the market as well, which is pretty cool. And I'm not going to complain much about that at all. So thanks so much for watching. Any links, resources, free trials of TradingView, Lux Algo indicators, if you want to check all that stuff out, will be in the video description box down below if you want to help support the channel. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.